The winding forest road led Sarah and David deeper into the wilderness, away from the hustle and bustle of their everyday lives. They had yearned for an escape, a respite from the relentless demands of city living that had left them feeling drained and disconnected. And so they embarked on a journey into the heart of nature in search of solitude and serenity. Their destination was a remote vacation cabin, a hidden gem nestled in the heart of a dense, ancient forest. As they arrived at their long-awaited sanctuary, the forest embraced them with open arms. Towering trees, their trunks cloaked in emerald moss, formed a natural gateway to the tranquility they had longed for. The cabin itself, a charming and rustic wooden structure, was a haven of simplicity and warmth. Its time-worn exterior blended seamlessly with the surrounding wilderness, as if it had always been a part of this enchanted forest. The scent of aged wood and the gentle creaking of the porch swing greeted them, and they couldn't help but feel that they had stepped into a fairy tale. Stepping out of their car, they inhaled the crisp, pine-scented air that seemed to wash away the grime of the city and soothe their frazzled nerves. The world, with all its cares and concerns, faded into obscurity, leaving only the towering trees and the distant chirping of birds as their companions. It was as if the forest itself had whispered, "Welcome home." In that moment, the outside world, with its ceaseless cacophony, was nothing but a distant memory. They were immersed in a world of dappled sunlight and the soft rustling of leaves, where time moved at its own unhurried pace. It was the perfect retreat, they thought, a place where they could reconnect with each other and with the world's natural beauty, leaving their worries and stress far behind. Little did they know that their idyllic vacation, set against the backdrop of the ancient forest, would soon take a chilling turn, as the woods held secrets that transcended the beauty of the surface and delved deep into the shadows of the unknown. As the sun dipped below the horizon on their first night at the cabin, Sarah and David found themselves in a scene that could have been plucked from the pages of a timeless storybook. They nestled close to each other, the warmth of the crackling fireplace painting flickering shadows on the log walls. The soft, mesmerizing dance of the flames cast an enchanting glow over the cabin, creating an ambiance that was both cozy and inviting. The wooden interior of the cabin seemed to come to life in the firelight, with its knotted beams and rustic charm. The very air was imbued with a sense of history, as if the cabin itself held the whispered stories of all who had sought refuge within its walls. It was a refuge from the chaos of the modern world, a place where time seemed to slow and hearts could find respite. Yet, as the night crept deeper into darkness, an unsettling feeling began to wrap its tendrils around Sarah and David. The wind outside the cabin moaned through the ancient trees, a lament that seemed to echo through the wilderness. The forest, which had welcomed them so graciously during the day, now bore an eerie undercurrent. It was as if the woods, too, had a story to tell, one of secrets hidden beneath the surface. The forest seemed to come alive with strange rustlings, like whispers in the night. The leaves and branches, usually gentle companions, became the bearers of eerie murmurs. The forest's nocturnal inhabitants, invisible to the human eye, began their nightly symphony, their unseen presence sending shivers down the couple's spines. As the isolation of the cabin and the deepening darkness closed in around them, Sarah and David made a decision. With an uneasy glance at the dimly lit room, they realized that they couldn't escape the sensation of being watched. They couldn't ignore the subtle unease that had begun to permeate the cozy atmosphere. Together, they retired to the bedroom, seeking solace and separation from the unsettling sounds that now seemed to echo through the forest. The room, though smaller and more confined, offered a sense of security, with its sturdy walls and the comforting weight of the blankets. The bed, a haven of softness and warmth, welcomed them as they settled beneath the covers. They clung to each other, seeking comfort in each other's presence. The hope was that by morning, the eerie sensations and unsettling sounds of the night would dissipate, leaving them to awaken to the promise of a brighter, less ominous day. Little did they know that the forest held mysteries that refused to be silenced by the passage of time or the flicker of the fireplace, and the events of that night were only the beginning of a chilling tale that would unfold in the shadowed heart of the ancient woods. Sometime in the middle of the night, Sarah was roused from her sleep by a chorus of distant howls. The haunting sound seeped into her dreams and jolted her into consciousness. At first, she thought it might be the mournful cry of a pack of wolves. Yet, as the eerie wails carried through the forest, they seemed to defy any straightforward explanation. The howling was not the wild and feral sound of nature at its most primal, but something more unsettling, almost human in its mournful quality. The wails rose and fell in eerie harmony, like a chilling chorus of despair that transcended the boundaries of the animal kingdom. They echoed through the cold night, reaching deep into the recesses of her mind. Beside her, David stirred, his eyes wide with alarm. The pale light of the moon seeped through the curtains, casting a ghostly glow across the room. He got up and peered out of the window, his breath forming small clouds in the chill of the night. The view beyond revealed the thick canopy of ancient trees, their branches shrouded in an inky darkness. Whispering to Sarah, David tried to quell her fears. "It's probably just some local wildlife," he murmured, his voice a soothing but unconvincing reassurance. "Let's go back to sleep." But the howling persisted, an intermittent lament that seemed to grow closer with each passing moment. The uncertainty gnawed at their minds, and neither of them could fully shake the sense that something was amiss. They clung to each other, listening to the eerie cries that pierced the night, wondering what kind of creatures lurked in the forest beyond their cabin. The walls of the cabin, which had seemed so sturdy earlier, now felt like fragile barriers between them and the unknown. The room was filled with an unsettling silence, broken only by the mournful chorus that refused to relent. Sleep eluded them as they lay in the dark, wondering about the secrets that the night held and the mysteries that lay in wait within the ancient woods. Determined to shake off the eerie events of the previous night, Sarah and David decided to explore the forest in the welcome embrace of daylight. The sun, a warm and reassuring presence, filtered through the canopy of leaves above, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor below. As they ventured deeper into the woods, their surroundings seemed to take on a surreal quality. The towering trees, once a source of solace and beauty, now appeared to close in on them, their branches reaching out like bony fingers in contorted shapes. It was as if the forest was trying to conceal its secrets, to obscure the path that led them deeper into its heart. The forest floor, carpeted with a thick layer of pine needles and leaves, crunched softly underfoot. Yet, beneath this seemingly peaceful surface lay gnarled roots and treacherous brambles, hidden hazards that made each step a test of agility and balance. The deeper they ventured, the more the sense of unease began to return. The woods whispered with secrets they could not decipher, as if the very trees were privy to a hidden language, one that they could only vaguely comprehend. It was as though the forest itself had its stories to tell, stories that veiled themselves in riddles and half-truths. And then, just as they were contemplating turning back, they stumbled upon a sight that sent shivers down their spines. A clearing in the dense forest revealed a circle of stones, weathered and ancient, arranged in a manner that bore an eerie resemblance to an ancient ritual site. The stones, like silent sentinels, seemed to guard some long-forgotten knowledge. Symbols etched into their surfaces hinted at a purpose long obscured by the passage of time. It was a place where the veil between the mundane and the mystical was thin, and they could feel the weight of ancient ceremonies and whispered incantations that still lingered in the air. As their unease grew, Sarah and David decided to retreat from the stone circle, feeling as though they had unwittingly stumbled upon a place where the boundaries of reality were not as firm as they once believed. The forest had revealed another layer of its enigmatic character, and it left them with a sense of disquiet and an ever-deepening conviction that there were forces at play in the ancient woods that lay beyond their comprehension. That evening, as Sarah and David once more sat by the fire, the strange occurrences in the forest weighed heavily on their minds. The unsettling howls, like mournful echoes from the night before, reverberated in their memories. The forest, once a place of solace and beauty, had transformed into an enigmatic and unsettling realm that defied their understanding. The eerie shapes of the trees, once majestic and inviting, now seemed to twist and contort in strange formations. The moonlight that filtered through the branches lent an otherworldly quality to the woods, creating eerie silhouettes and casting unsettling shadows. It was as if the forest had taken on a life of its own, revealing hidden facets that lay just beneath its natural beauty. The discovery of the ancient stone circle, with its enigmatic symbols and whispers of forgotten rituals, had only deepened their sense of unease. The atmosphere of the cabin, once a sanctuary from the world, had become tainted by an undercurrent of disquiet that seemed to seep through the log walls. As they sat in the flickering firelight, the woods beyond the cabin appeared to conspire against them. The rustling leaves, the creaking branches, and the occasional inexplicable sounds of the night all combined to create an atmosphere far removed from the tranquil retreat they had envisioned. The forest seemed to whisper secrets to them, secrets that they couldn't decipher. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were fixed on their every move, and the weight of those unseen gazes left her heart heavy with foreboding. The cabin, which had offered solace in the past, now felt like an island adrift in a sea of malevolence. It was as if the very walls held echoes of ancient rituals and haunted incantations. The forest, once a place of natural beauty and respite, had taken on an unsettling presence, as if it were watching their every move, waiting with bated breath. In an attempt to ward off the encroaching darkness, they decided to keep the fire burning through the night. The crackling flames and the warmth they provided were sources of comfort and reassurance. They huddled together, their eyes never straying far from the cabin's windows, the fear that they were not alone in the woods lingering like a ghostly presence. The hours passed slowly, and the unsettling feeling of being observed by unseen forces never left them. The cabin's once welcoming interior, its walls bathed in the soft glow of firelight, now felt like the last bastion of safety in a forest that harbored enigmatic secrets and the unsettling presence of an unknown malevolence. With a new day dawning, Sarah and David rose from a fitful night's sleep, determined to face the challenges that the forest had thrown their way. The eerie events of the previous night, the mournful howls, the disconcerting stone circle, and the sense of being watched, lingered like a shadow in the back of their minds. As they prepared for the day ahead, their thoughts were consumed by the mysteries of the woods and the unsettling feeling that they were not alone. However, their determination to explore and conquer the unknown still burned within them, if somewhat dimmed. The couple's resolve led them to venture outside, hoping to regain some semblance of control over their situation. Yet as they approached their supplies, stored in a secure container outside the cabin, dread began to well up within them. It quickly became apparent that something was amiss. The container had been tampered with, its contents disrupted. Their supplies, so essential for their well-being, had inexplicably vanished. It was as if the forest itself had conspired to leave them isolated and vulnerable, to strip them of their lifelines to civilization. Their food, meticulously packed for their stay, had vanished. Their flashlight, a source of reassurance in the dark, had disappeared into thin air. Even their car keys, their lifeline to escape this encroaching malevolence, were nowhere to be found. Panic took hold of them, its icy grip squeezing their hearts. The realization that they were stranded in the wilderness, far from help or rescue, sank in like a heavy weight. Their world had shrunk to the confines of the forest and the cabin, and the forest itself seemed to close in around them, its secrets growing more sinister by the moment. In a place that had once promised peace and serenity, their reality had morphed into a nightmarish ordeal, leaving them to confront not only the mysteries of the forest but their own vulnerability in the face of the unknown. The missing supplies were a haunting reminder that the forest held secrets that defied explanation and consequences that grew graver with each passing hour. As night descended once more, the apprehension that had taken root in Sarah and David's hearts deepened. The distant howling, like a ghostly echo of their previous ordeal, returned to haunt them, now closer and more ominous than before. The mournful cries pierced the stillness of the cabin, a chilling prelude to what was to come. Rustlings in the underbrush seemed to mimic the rhythm of the howling, as if some unseen force orchestrated the unsettling symphony of the night. Their breaths caught in their throats, and their gazes were drawn to the windows. But the moon's pale light offered little to pierce the enveloping darkness. Then they saw them, shadowy figures that darted among the ancient trees. These entities, whatever they were, moved with an unsettling fluidity, their forms indistinct and their features shrouded in mystery. It was as if they were creatures not entirely of this world, their presence a chilling enigma that defied all logical explanation. Fear gripped Sarah and David as they realized that they were not alone in the forest. The howling, once distant, grew louder, the voices a haunting chorus of despair that chilled them to the bone. The cabin, their sanctuary, felt increasingly fragile in the face of these unknown entities that had ventured closer. With trembling hands, David reached for a lantern, its soft glow offering a feeble defiance against the encroaching darkness. They huddled together, seeking comfort and reassurance in each other's presence as the night pressed in around them, its secrets and terrors closing in. The forest, once a place of natural beauty, had been transformed into a haunting realm of malevolent forces, an eerie theater where the line between reality and the supernatural had become blurred. The howling, the shadowy figures, and the palpable sense of dread left Sarah and David with the chilling realization that their idyllic retreat had morphed into a nightmare from which there might be no escape. The relentless isolation and fear that had gripped Sarah and David became unbearable. The malevolent creatures of the night continued to encroach upon the cabin, their eerie presence pressing in on all sides. The walls of the cabin, which had once provided solace, now felt like flimsy barriers, unable to protect them from the horrors that lurked in the darkness outside. With trembling hands and hearts pounding in their chests, they made a desperate decision. It was time to make a dash for the car. The eerie howls of the creatures seemed to follow them, growing louder and more dissonant with each frantic step. The forest, which had been their refuge, had become a nightmarish labyrinth, a place where the very trees twisted and shifted, as if the ancient woods were a living entity that sought to ensnare them. Shadows danced like specters in the moonlight, and the forest floor seemed to heave and shift, making each step treacherous. They reached the car, their breaths ragged and their desperation mounting. But, to their horror, the keys remained missing. Panic fueled their frantic search, their hands fumbling in the dim light. Time was slipping through their fingers, and the relentless howling of the creatures seemed to reach a crescendo. As they continued to search for the elusive keys, the forest's malevolent presence closed in around them. The shadowy forms of the creatures emerged from the trees, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly malevolence. In their desperation, Sarah and David had unwittingly become the quarry in a deadly game, their pursuit by these enigmatic entities pushing them further into the depths of a nightmare from which there might be no escape. Cornered and terrified, Sarah and David found themselves in a nightmarish tableau, where they could do nothing but watch as the grotesque creatures drew near. The forest, once a realm of natural beauty and serenity, had now revealed its true, horrifying nature. The very trees, with their gnarled branches, seemed to twist and writhe in response to the approaching malevolence. The moonlight, with its cold, stark glow, revealed the ghastly features of the creatures. Their faces were pale and elongated, as if stretched by the very horrors they embodied. Hollow eyes, devoid of warmth or humanity, gazed upon the couple with a predatory hunger. Their limbs moved with an eerie, unnatural grace, as if they were beings from a realm beyond the understanding of mortals. As the creatures closed in, Sarah and David's fear reached its zenith. Their backs pressed against the unforgiving steel of the car, they clung to each other with a desperation born of the deepest terror. Their screams pierced the night, echoing through the darkened woods like a chorus of despair. It was as if the very forest itself had awakened, its ancient hunger for human souls manifesting in these abhorrent beings. In that horrifying moment, it became clear that there was no escape from the forest's terrible embrace. The once tranquil cabin, which had promised respite, had now led them to the heart of an unspeakable nightmare. The darkness that enveloped them seemed to seep into their souls, its malevolence forever etching their minds with the knowledge that they had entered a world where the line between reality and the supernatural had been irrevocably shattered. The cabin, once a symbol of respite and tranquility, now stood in eerie silence, a haunted monument to the couple's ill-fated vacation. Its walls, which had witnessed the gradual descent into terror, seemed to harbor the echoes of their desperate pleas and screams, whispers of a horrifying ordeal that had unfolded within its log embrace. Outside, the forest lay shrouded in darkness, its ancient trees hiding the unspeakable horrors that had taken place within its depths. The moonlight, which had once bathed the woods in a gentle, comforting glow, now revealed the unsettling truth. The forest was a realm that held its secrets close, a place where the boundary between reality and the supernatural had been irrevocably blurred. The haunting echoes of the night persisted, the mournful howling, the enigmatic rustlings, and the lingering presence of the forest's malevolence remained as chilling remnants of the terrors that had befallen Sarah and David. These sounds were not merely the products of the natural world. They were a testament to the horrors they had endured, an indelible mark left upon the very fabric of the forest. Their story, a harrowing tale of survival and terror, would become an unsettling legend, a cautionary tale told in hushed tones around campfires and in the dimly lit corners of remote cabins. It was a reminder that the natural world, with all its beauty, could also hold unimaginable darkness, where malevolent forces lay in wait for those who ventured too deep into its embrace. The cabin, once a haven, had become a chilling reminder that the line between the mundane and the supernatural was thinner than anyone dared to imagine, a threshold that could be crossed by those who ventured into the heart of the unknown.